I started Wacky Reddit just because I thought it might make some money. I've seen a lot of YouTube channels out there reading Reddit posts, and they seem to be doing pretty well, so why wouldn't I get into it? Reddit is literally just free content. You can just grab whatever you find on there, and nobody really cares. I started off with like memes and some text posts, and those did all right. Built up a nice little group of subscribers over the next year or so, got monetized, and started making some easy money. I basically just needed to copy and paste some text into a TTS reader, and I was good to go. I was able to put out a couple videos a day, and there was always more content to make the next one. I only started posting the stuff on No Sleep because I saw one of the other channels, Social Corpse, was doing it too. He'd been running his channel for a few years at that point and gotten mad subs. His No Sleep videos always got pretty good views and people seemed to like them. So I figured, why not get in on the action? I checked out the subreddit, grabbed a couple of the popular posts from the last few days, and had my video. Now, I was hoping it would get some views, but I didn't actually expect it to blow up the way it did. Seriously, my subs went through the roof. With a reception that good, I knew I just had to give the folks a little bit more. And that's where things got complicated. I'd been posting No Sleep videos for about a month or so, and people started reaching out to me. The first one was this dude called Grand Theft Motto. He sent me a message about how I'd violated his copyright by posting his story. Seriously? Copyright? What copyright? He posted it on Reddit for free. I told him that he should be thanking me for the exposure. I mean, who did this guy think he was? An actual author? He said he was going to hit me with a copyright strike, so I told him to just screw off. And then I got the copyright strike. What a douchebag. He wasn't the only one who started harassing me, just because I was making money off their free stuff. There were a few others too. Apparently, there's a whole group of them who police people who are stealing their stories. After they put up a post calling me out for theft, I got a bunch of emails from a few different people, like Not Necessarily and Ren Writer, about removing the stories of theirs that I'd put up. Naturally, I blocked them. About a day or so later, another douchebag named Head of Spectre went into my freaking Discord server and started some gossip and stuff. I DM'd him telling him that he should feel grateful that I even decided to post his content. And let me tell you, that douchebag literally ends every single sentence with ... and it's so distracting. He decided to be immature about it and argue with me about copyright as if that applies to stuff they post for free. I didn't have the energy for that kind of negativity, so I just blocked him. Honestly, I was thinking about blacklisting these clowns from my account and not giving them any more free exposure. But I got more of a kick out of watching them cry just because they didn't like me stealing their free stuff. I did try to play ball with these guys at one point and made a subreddit so they could post the stuff they were okay with me narrating as long as it was exclusive, but none of them actually joined, so whatever. Can't say I didn't try. Over the next couple of months, I'd get the occasional email or copyright claim, but they weren't that distracting. I was able to dodge some of them, figuring that sooner or later these guys would just get tired of it. And I was sorta right. The last email I got came from Grand Theft Motto. It came in a couple of weeks ago, and it just said this. Hey Riley, we've tried DMCAing you, and you still don't seem to understand why what you're doing is a problem. We're all getting a little tired of it. You're not just stealing works of fiction. These are pieces of people's lives, and if you're going to put it up on display, they deserve to be compensated for what they've been through. I'm not really the kind of guy who threatens people, but you forced our hand here. We wrote this one just for you guys. I don't know what's going to happen next. ... But good luck. I just rolled my eyes when I read it before blocking him. If he wanted to make some cryptic threats, he was welcome to do it. It wasn't going to bother me any more than his and his buddies' other antics had. I was the one making money here, so they could just seethe and cope. I didn't hear from any of them after that. The copyright strike stopped, nobody crashed my Discord, and nobody else emailed me. From what I heard, they'd also stopped harassing some of the other guys narrating their stuff too. I figured they'd finally just accepted that as long as they were posting free content, people were gonna use it. I kept working on my channel, posting 2 videos a day, and I started working on a compilation to post as an ebook too. I took a bunch of the stories from my top performing videos and put them in a Google Doc so I could sort of edit them together. It was around that time when I noticed a weird video on my channel. As I said, I was posting 2 videos per day, at least one of which was usually a no-sleep video. So when I noticed a third post up on my channel, it was a little suspicious. It was 2 hours old by the time I found it, entitled Eddie and the Skittering Man. I'd wondered if maybe I screwed up my cue at first, but looking at the video that had gone live, I didn't recognize the title. I do actually read the stuff I post just to make sure it's quality, and this didn't sound like anything I'd seen lately. I even checked the no sleep subreddit just to see if I could find it there, and nothing. I finally just decided to bite the bullet and listen to it, hoping that maybe hearing the actual story would refresh my memory. It didn't. The story was about some dude named Eddie chilling around his house before hearing a noise in his closet. He thought it was his clothes falling off the hanger, so he went to check and put them back up when he got attacked by what I presume was the Skittering Man. Eddie tried to run, but it followed him, crawling through his house in pursuit until he tripped trying to get down the stairs. The last lines describe the way Eddie looked up at it, screaming as the Skittering Man descended on him and began to feed. I wouldn't have posted this story. For starters, it was pretty short. The whole story was only around 6 minutes long. It didn't seem like it would have fit on No Sleep either, but obviously it looks like one of my videos. It had my intro card, it sounded like it used the same software I used, and the image it used as a background looked like one of the stock images I usually use for these videos. Did someone hack into my account? No, that couldn't be it. Why would anyone do that just to post something that just looked like something I'd normally post? That was one heck of a weird flex, I guess. I checked my login history, but there's nothing out of the ordinary. I still changed my password and everything just to be safe. I posted the video on my Discord server just to see if anyone knew anything. I added, "I don't even remember making this, LOL," to try and save a little bit of face. I didn't expect it to get that much of a reaction, but within the next few minutes, people were posting things like, "WTF, man, that isn't funny," and "Have some respect for Eddie, what's wrong with you?" Eddie? The guy from the story? What the heck? Who the heck is Eddie? So I asked my server about it, and look, I'm not trying to be dramatic here, but the response I got sent a chill through me. Social corpse. You didn't see it on his Twitter? Someone posted this morning. He's dead. Dead? Social corpse was dead? I thought they were joking at first, but who in their right mind would joke about something like that? But I checked his Twitter, and sure enough, someone had made a post. "Hey guys, Rye Panda here. If you're part of the community, you'll know me. We found out this morning that Eddie Wright, the guy behind Social Corpse, passed away last night. Me and Eddie's friends are heartbroken beyond words right now. Eddie was a good friend, and his hard work brightened everyone's lives. Our hearts go out to his family and girlfriend right now, and we will all mourn with them. Rest in peace, Eddie. You will be missed." What? Reading over the post again, I found myself struggling to actually comprehend it. I read over the text again and again in quiet disbelief as I tried to process it. And then I started skimming through the comments. Most of them were just people offering their support and talking about how much they'd miss him. Most of them, with one exception. Head of Spectre had simply replied, "Everything comes at a price." I logged off Twitter after that. I don't get freaked out easily, but this freaked me out. I've played up the angle of being genuinely afraid of these stories in my Discord and in my videos, but I don't actually believe that they're real. So I tried to think of a logical explanation. Maybe this was all just an exceptionally crappy prank, and one of those guys on the subreddit had hacked me and posted that story about Eddie just to screw with people. Like, sure, it still sounded a little crazy, but it at least made sense, and I couldn't really think up of a better explanation. It sure wasn't the Skittering Man that had been in the story. I was willing to bet that Social Corpse had even died in a completely different way to what they wrote. Yeah, of course he had. They were just capitalizing on his death because they'd all been pissy about that copyright crap. It made sense. So that's why I ended up reaching out to Rye Panda over Discord. Not because I was freaked out or anything, just to prove that story they posted was completely bogus. When I reached out, I told Panda that I was sorry to hear about what happened to Social Corpse, and that he'd been an inspiration and all that. We talked for a bit, reminiscing before I asked the big question. So what happened to Eddie anyways? Was there an accident or something? Honestly, I felt a little bad prying about that, but I still had to know. Panda had stopped typing for a bit, and for a moment I got worried that he'd just dip out of the conversation. And then after a few minutes, he posted, "I don't know. They found him at the bottom of the stairs in his home, but it wasn't the fall that did it. Someone did it to him." Screw me. My blood ran ice cold. They'd found him murdered at the bottom of the stairs, just like in that story. Panda was typing something else, but I didn't want to read it. I needed to sit down. I needed to digest this. Logically, I knew there had to be a rational explanation for all of this still. Maybe one of them knew what had happened to him. Or crap, what if one of them had done this? No, that was crazy. But then again, so was the idea of someone murdering Social Corpse in his own home. And it was less crazy than the thought that some supernatural entity had done it. I didn't sleep well that night. I kept thinking about Eddie. The more I thought about those guys on the No Sleep subreddit killing him, the more I started to wonder if it was even possible. And I started feeling not quite as safe. After about 2 hours of lying awake, I ended up grabbing my phone and opening up Eddie's channel. I skimmed through some of his most recent videos. The last 4 looked pretty normal. One of them was from No Sleep, and the other was from a different subreddit. Looking at their timestamps, though, half of them had been posted that day. Probably after he died. I looked at the title of the next video. Brian and the Skittering Man. My stomach turned. I checked the subreddit. There was no sign of any story by that name. Sure, maybe he'd gotten it from someplace else, but still. I clicked on the story to listen, but didn't have the stomach to make it all the way through. From what little I heard, it wasn't all that different from the Eddie story. I started doing some research, trying to see if I could find out who Brian was. I pinged my Discord about if they knew anyone by that name, and sure enough, they did. Worse still, I'd heard of him. He went by Mad Reddit and did TTS videos like Eddie and I had done. Apparently, he'd been found dead in his garage a couple days back. I checked out his channel, and it didn't take me long to find the video. Jacob and the Skittering Man. Another one. This wasn't a coincidence. I considered trying to call the cops, but honestly, I wasn't sure what they could even do. There wasn't exactly any solid proof that all of these were connected, and nothing they'd accept anyways. I clicked off of YouTube and sat for a bit, before wandering around the house trying to distract myself. When that didn't work, I did what I usually did to keep my mind occupied. I scoured Reddit looking for some crap to make a video on. I stayed off No Sleep and stuck to some true stories. I went with some of those sexy confession threads. The comments there are usually decent, and the promise of some candid secrets a stranger probably made up got me some good views. I'd grabbed a bunch of comments that looked good and was starting to run them through my software when I noticed something was off. The words the program was saying didn't match what I'd put in. I'd put in some story about how a guy had been sleeping with his wife's sister for the past 15 years, and what came out was narration about me. It said my name. It talked about how I was seated at my desk and how I couldn't sleep, and about the bags under my eyes. And as the software spoke, I felt my heart start to beat faster and faster. I tried to close it out, shut it up. But the program didn't close. It just kept talking before trailing off into silence for a moment. And then it laughed. I've never heard a TTS program laugh before. And I sure didn't expect it to laugh the way it did. It wasn't as robotic as it should have been. The laughter was more fluid. It sounded almost like a real person. I listened to it and felt a chill run down my spine. When it finally stopped, it said 2 more words before the monitor went dark. "He's here." I stared at the blank screen. My power was fine. The lights were still on in my office. I looked at my computer and saw that it was still on. I could hear the fan turning, and I could hear something else too. Something deeper in the house. A low, whispering noise. The sound of countless legs skittering across the floor in my hall, and a low, almost insectoid clicking noise. I could hear my pulse racing in my ears, but it didn't drown out that sound. No. The sound just got louder. I looked back towards my office door. The hall outside was dark, but I could see the light from one of my bedroom lamps in the doorway at the other end of the hall. If there was something out there, I should have seen it. But I couldn't see anything, and the sound was still just getting louder. I remained still, rooted to the spot with terror. My hands were shaking as I stared at the small rectangle of light at the end of my hall, and I finally saw a shadow move in front of it. A dark shape that didn't in any way resemble a man. I don't know what it was. The shape seemed to change the longer I looked at it. It didn't seem to have any fixed form, but despite that, I knew it was coming closer. And it was moving faster. My brain finally started functioning again. My body started to move. I ran to my nearest window and threw it open, and the next thing I knew, I was falling, and the cold grass of my yard didn't do a lot to cushion my fall. I was pretty sure I was still alive, at least. I picked myself up and looked back at the window. I could see the shape there watching me. It lingered for a moment before I saw it moving to follow me out the window. I didn't stick around to watch and see how it landed. I just started running, and I haven't stopped since. Right now, I'm in a crappy 24-hour diner. I've called the police, but I'm not going back to that house. Not until I know it's safe. I don't know if I want to stay in a hotel either. I don't think that's going to stop it from coming after me again. I reached out to some of those guys who were emailing me before. Grand Theft Auto, Ren Writer, Not Necessarily, Head of Spectre, a few others. I don't know what I'm going to say to them, but maybe I can make a deal? Maybe I could get them to call this thing off. I'll do whatever they want. I'll stop the videos. I'll delete my channel. I'll even let them post what I've written here. They can claim all the glory for it. I just want this to end.